It's been a great pleasure and a privilege to be invited to Romania, to the festival here, and I have great admiration, especially for the director of the festival, Emil Borghina, who has become a friend, a very good friend, and I admire very much the intelligence and the cultured attitude to life that he brings to everything that he does here. Of course, the theatre is a beautiful theatre, very well equipped, and I think he makes excellent choices in it all. I first came to the festival in 2004. A book of mine was being presented to the festival, and it's typical of Emil Borghina, for whom I have great respect, that he has such a broad cultural range in the festival, in theatre, in literature, in books about Shakespeare, and about theatre more generally. I think he has brought a wonderful attitude to it all. It's been a great privilege to come here. I remember seeing an English company called Propeller, for example. It's marvellous that they've been able to bring such a wide range of theatre companies into here, which makes it a truly international festival. Yes, the Cheek by Jowl have been particularly good. They're a very innovative and adventurous company, and they tour almost entirely on the continent, don't they? They don't perform much in England, so it's one has to come to Romania to see them, as it were. Yes, it's been very good to do that. What gives me happiness? Well, friends give me happiness. Music gives me a lot of happiness. Drama, I love seeing plays, of course. Of course, having lived in Stratford for a large part of my life, I've been able to see great performances by the Royal Shakespeare Company and got to know some of the actors very well. One of them I was talking about to the festival yesterday. That's Judi Dench, a great British actress who has become well known on film and on television as well on stage. And her new book, The Man Who Pays the Rent, she calls it, which is her jocular way of referring to Shakespeare, though she hasn't done Shakespeare for quite a long time now. But all these things give me a great deal of happiness, particularly music. Though I'm especially fond of music. I used to play the violin, and not very well, but it's a wonderful way of getting to know a wide range of music, to play an instrument yourself, and that's given me a lot of happiness over my lifetime. Over the years, one of the greatest singers whom I have had the good fortune of getting to know a bit is Dame Janet Baker, who is a great mezzo-soprano who's performed in opera a lot and performed song. One of my favourite composers is Schubert, Franz Schubert, partly because of the chamber music and the songs, and that's given me a lot of enriched my life a great deal over the years. I used to play the violin, and that was a way of getting to know music, of playing the Mozart violin sonatas, for example, or the Beethoven sonatas. That's a way of intimately communing with great minds, I think. Well, I don't put myself forward as a model of happiness, but I think the most important thing is personal relationships, love, friendship, getting on well with people, communing with people, sharing ideas, sharing experiences together. I think life is greatly enriched by loving friendships, and this is very important to anybody, I hope. Being able to share interests, being able to share one's pleasures in life, in music, in theatre, but these are the things that give me great pleasure most of all. The arts, I'm particularly interested in artistic experiences, and in sharing those with my friends, with the people that I get on well with. The usual answer is A Midsummer Night's Dream on one side and King Lear on the other side. A great comedy, a light-hearted play, but a play of the imagination, Midsummer Night's Dream, purely created out of Shakespeare's imagination. And King Lear, which is, I think, the most profound examinations of what it means to be human, of the depth of emotion that people can feel, of love for one another, and the sense of loss too, which is inevitably a part of human experience. The sense of, death. I mean, King Lear is a play partly about the experience of death. So I think Shakespeare, this is one of the things that makes Shakespeare a profoundly great writer rather than just an entertainer, I think.
What are you working on now?
Well, nowadays I'm working on an anthology of Shakespeare, of what we might call the best bits of Shakespeare, and which Cambridge University Press are interested in. And I'm working on selecting some of the best passages from the plays and on annotating them so that to make them intelligible to the ordinary reader. You see, I think I'm essentially a teacher. I was a school teacher early in my life, and I like to try to explain things to people and to help them to enjoy by understanding.
And what's your secret, being 93, so happy, so energyful, and so spiritual and very friendly?
Well, I've been very lucky. I have good health on the whole, and I have good friends, and I have the capacity to enjoy the arts, especially to enjoy music and theatre and reading, literature. So these are the things that keep me buoyant, I hope. And I think it's very important to keep active as one gets older, not to allow oneself to be lazy. So I try to keep my mind active all throughout.
But you do also your 10,000 steps per day.
My 10,000
steps.
Oh,
it's like
no, I don't do much physical exercise, but nowadays. But I like to keep active. Yes, certainly. Yes, yes.
Okay. And I'm interested. What are you eating? It's also.
What do I eat?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not. I eat what we might call a normal diet. I like to eat plenty of fruit, and I like. Well, the ordinary. I like to drink wine in moderation, both red and white, and fizzy wine too, including champagne. No, I like to have a glass or two of wine each day. That helps. Of course, I like to be in the countryside too. I like to see the sunshine, and I have a little garden which I like spending time in. So these are the sorts of things that give me pleasure. But overall, I think among the arts, music is the one that has meant most to me. Along, of course, with drama and literature. But that's been my living. Music has been more of a recreation.
You was traveling around the world. Are some countries which you like it, especially places where you want to spend more time?
Well, it's always lovely to come to Romania, of course. I like France. I'm interested in French culture. I've had good times in Italy, particularly Italy. I've always loved going to Venice and seeing the great architecture of Venice. And also, I've been lucky in recent years to go quite often to Verona, which is, of course, a very beautiful city with antique Roman remains, and I've been able to take part in conferences and enjoy theatrical experiences there. Verona has a festival which is really not unlike the Romanian festival here, in the sense that visitors come to it, visiting musicians, visiting theatre companies and so on. So it's a great pleasure to follow the cultural activities of other countries that one visits. It's very sad that people don't get on with each other as well as they should. I'm not a very politically minded person. I tend to leave that to other people. As a boy, I was a schoolboy during the war. I was born in Hull, which is an industrial, partly industrial. It's a port in the north of England, and it was very severely bombed. And I have still quite vivid memories of the fires, buildings being on fire. My father was connected with a bus company, and he used to drive me around, and I would see the burning buildings as a result of the war, which was a horrific thing, of course. I was lucky to have a good schoolmaster. I think that's very important. We weren't a rich family by any means, but I had good friends who helped me to learn about the arts, especially. As I say, I played the violin, and that was a good way of enriching my spiritual and emotional life. So that was all very good.
And you almost became a Canadian citizen.
Yes, I almost became a Canadian, that's true. I had an uncle who had emigrated to Canada in the early years of the century, and during the war, the early years of the war, there was a scheme by which British children could emigrate to join members of their family who were in Canada particularly, and myself and my two brothers and my sister were already packed to go to my uncle in Canada, when unfortunately the scheme had to be abandoned because a boat carrying children was torpedoed, and so I didn't. That's how I nearly became a Canadian citizen. But my sister did eventually go to Canada and lived there, so I still have relatives in Canada. Yes, I had been made a CBE, which is called a Commander of the British Empire, which is a national honour, and then in 2016 I was elevated to the higher honour of knighthood. So I went to Buckingham Palace, and the King, as it was, when he was the Prince of Wales, of course, conferred the knighthood upon me. It was very. I'd had some conversation with him before. I remember when he conferred the knighthood on me, he said, "At last, Stanley." He seemed to feel it was a slightly overdue honour, which is not for me to comment. But it's very nice to have that national honour conferred upon one, of course.
The King is also a big friend of Romania. He has here some.
Yes, I believe the King has a private residence where he comes to get out of the public eye sometimes, which is very nice. He's a very cultivated man.
And of course he loves Shakespeare, so he might even come to the festival one day.
Yes, it would be good if the King came to the Craiova festival, wouldn't it? Yes, he has a genuine interest in Shakespeare. He was patron of the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I had a lot to do over the years with the Royal Shakespeare Company as a governor, as they called it, and I used to have the privilege sometimes of entertaining the King during the interval when he came to see performances. So he has a genuine interest in the arts, in music and in drama, in theatre particularly. So he really has a real passion, I believe, for Shakespeare and for these things, which is, it's good to feel that a member of the royal family has cultivated interests like that, not simply political interests, but interest in the arts in general. I have two daughters, one of whom has just had a baby, so I have a new grandson, but my elder daughter also has a daughter, so I have two grandchildren, and my elder daughter is a writer. She writes for television, so that's a way of keeping the arts going in the family.
Right. What do you think to do in the next 10 years?
Well, you know, I'm 94 years old. I'd love to carry on.
Does that matter to you?
Well, I like to write, I like to go on reading, and I like to travel too, as you can tell by coming here. I hope I may come to later versions of the Craiova festival and enjoy the cultural experiences that Romania has to offer.
What is to you the most important things in life, and what is the don'ts? Don't do this. Don't live like this.
Oh, well, most important thing is life is personal relationships, love, friendship. The arts, as I say, are very important to me. I'm not very interested in politics, though I recognise that one depends on other people being interested in politics. But I like good food, I like good wine, I like travel, I like seeing new places and undergoing new experiences. I like, well, as I've said, I like music a great deal, and hearing concerts and going to the opera is a great pleasure for me. But I'm lucky to have lived in Stratford, where Stratford-upon-Avon, Shakespeare's town, where we have, of course, the theatre. We have the Royal Shakespeare Theatre and the Royal Shakespeare Company, and over the years I've seen many great performances there. One of the things I've been talking about here in Romania is a new book by the great actress Judi Dench, who is a friend of mine. I got to know her when she was doing performances in Stratford, when she was playing Beatrice in Much Ado About Nothing, for example. And I've always felt a great sympathy with the performers in the performing arts, in theatre and in music. So this has enriched my life. Of course, I have taught over years in university a great deal, and my life has been enriched by my relationships with the people I've taught, my students, some of whom I still keep up with, although I retire from my university position a quarter of a century ago. Nevertheless, I still have friends who were my students, and also I'm what they call honorary president of the Shakespeare Birthplace Trust. The Birthplace Trust is the organisation that looks after Shakespearean interests in Stratford, especially Shakespeare's birthplace, and the other houses that Shakespeare was associated with. So I've been able to work with that organisation over the years. I was chairman for many years, and I'm now what they call honorary president. So I take quite an interest in the activities of the Trust in preserving the Shakespearean heritage in Stratford. One can only try to be optimistic about things, I suppose. Keeping up one's own personal relationships are vitally important, I think. This helps to give a foundation to one's life. Friendship, love is a way of achieving a kind of emotional stability which helps one to resist the forces of evil, which are also heavily predominant in the world. I mean, one looks around, hears terrible things on the news of things that aggression in different countries, and it's important to try to retain a sense of balance and a sense of human values which enable one to overcome the distress that's so easily caused. But if one allows oneself to be overwhelmed by some of the worst aspects of life, the cruelty, that warfare, for example, induces.